Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Kay, how are you?
I'm doing well. Sonia, how are you?
I am great. It's so good to be back here on Your Voice, where we have real conversations. And today's topic is, oh my gosh, it's just, I think it's gonna touch me, and I know it's gonna be therapeutic for me, and so I pray that it's that way for everybody. But for those just tuning in, my name is Sonia Graham. I'm the author of It's Time to Uncover Your Original Blueprint, 10 Steps to Uncover the Real You and Your Purpose. And Kay?
I am the author of Healed Inside Out, My Journey to Wholeness. And I'm also a personal trainer at Fit You Personal Training.
All right. And then we always forget to tell them how to find our book, or at least I do. My book can be found at target.com. And Kay, yours?
Mine is on Amazon. You can go there, or you can also go to my Facebook page and just let me know you want to get the book.
Right. And Amazon.com for me as well, too.
Yeah.
So please take the time and check out the books and let us know what you think about them. So today's topic, Kay, and I've heard people say this, but it's okay to be okay. And so what we're going to talk about.
It's okay to be not okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's okay to be not okay. I'm not okay.
Are you okay, girl?
No. It's okay not to be okay. Thank you.
Right. Yes.
See, that's why I got you on here, to keep me straight. But this is near and dear to my heart and my experiences recently. And then, like anything, it's like this is a conversation. And so we're praying that people can be transparent, share their stories, and together we can heal or get some directions on what that means to us. Have you heard that topic before?
Me?
Yes. Have you heard?
I have not heard that topic before. However, I heard your daughter say that before.
Yes.
So she is going to be one of our guest speakers today. So I'm interested to hear her view on it. But I did hear her say that before. But I've not seen this topic talked about, and it's very much needed. You're right.
Absolutely. Well, without further ado, if you like, you can go ahead and introduce her. I'll put her on, bring her on.
Yes, ma'am. She's the beautiful daughter of Sonia Graham. This is Miss Victoria Graham, guys. Isn't she beautiful? Don't you agree? Sonia has a bachelor's degree in biomedical engineering.
Victoria does. I wish I did.
I'm sorry. Victoria has a degree. I'm sorry, Victoria. She has a degree in biomedical engineering and a master's she's currently studying her master's in mental health counseling. She's the student creator of Acoustic Appetite, which is a platform that's used to highlight mental health primarily in the Black community and to encourage individuals to embrace their authentic stories. Welcome, Victoria.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. It's awesome to be here.
Yes. So I introduced you, and I noticed you have an engineering degree, but you went all the way, to me, like a little curve, and went to counseling. So what made you take that kind of switch?
I think it just was finally doing something that felt good and felt right to me, and not just doing something because I felt like I should. Because when I was younger, I originally wanted to be a veterinarian, save the animals. But after that, I wanted to be a doctor because in my mind, that was the way I was going to help people.
Right.
So that was the dream for a little while. And so I went into the University of Miami in 2013 with a degree, or I was working towards a bachelor's in biology. But then I kind of like through talking to some people, they're just like, well, like, what are you going to do if like you don't go straight to medical school? Like, you're just going to be sitting there, like, I don't know, doing like a job that you might not want to do because there's not like a lot of opportunities for just that degree per se. And so then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like, let's kick it up a notch. Biomedical engineering. Because like there's jobs there, right? Like it makes sense. And I think just being in that field taught me so much just because like it's a field where like there aren't a lot of Black people, but also there aren't a lot of women. So it's like I grew a lot in that space, but I also learned that it just wasn't for me. But I was just already so deep in it that I didn't feel like I could just like, like fake and like just go back to like
right. I understand
that made more sense. But I graduated with that degree, and even just like in terms of like things making sense, like I didn't even realize that my passion really was mental health for a while. So it's like I feel like even in college, like I just don't know if I actually would have figured it out, even though I did take some psychology classes and I loved them. So it should have made sense then, but I can blame myself for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think through like my own like mental health journey that I think I've gotten very deep into since I graduated in 2018. It just really showed me like not only is it important for me, but it's important for people who look like me, people who don't look like me, and for people who feel like they don't even need mental health help because there's such like a negative stigma on that phrase.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like no one wants to feel like there's something wrong with them. And I think that's why like that statement that we're talking about today is so important to me. Like it's okay to not be okay because like we don't tell people that, and we don't make people feel like that. It's like, oh, how are you doing? You could be in the worst day, but what are you going to say?
I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Blessed.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just kind of it, and that's how I ended up in the mental health counseling field because it's just like it suits me, like I've always loved talking to people and I do still want to help people, but it wasn't the way that I originally thought that I would.
Awesome. So it sounds like you found your purpose. That's what it sounds like to me. And then it sounds like your purpose was kind of birthed through some things you went through. So that's awesome, Victoria.
That's
awesome.
Yeah. And I think it's just like I'm realizing now it's like a portion of my purpose. Because I think it's like if we're all honest with ourselves, like we're multidimensional, like there's not necessarily just like one thing that we're into. And I think through starting to address my own mental health, I've been able to like broaden that and see like there's other things that I love and I would want to give time to as well. If like I could just get past the fear, if I could get past the anxiety, if I could get past like caring so much about like what everyone else in the world thinks about me. So
awesome.
Well, you're definitely gonna be a big advantage to our conversation we have, and maybe have some input and some direction, even from the professional direction of it. We're gonna go ahead and bring another one of our guests on. We actually have with us today a part of our panel. We have Miss Darchelle McAlpine Grissom. And Darchelle is an author and publisher and CEO of Boss Lady Press. Darchelle, welcome to Your Voice Talk Show.
Thank you.
And she's driving, so we might have some. Can you hear us okay, Darchelle?
Can you guys hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
So hopefully this will last. I'm in the backwoods.
Welcome to Your Voice.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, as always, with these beautiful ladies, and I am excited to chime in on this needful topic today.
And what is your overall direction or thought with the topic? It's okay not to be okay.
I think there's time for us to talk about it, particularly as women of color. But in our own lives, we're all bosses. We do certain things, and we have put these expectations on ourselves, and we try to live up to this mantra of being a certain thing. And sometimes we just have to let it be broken. Sometimes we just have to say, I don't have it together, and that's okay.
Wow. That's good. That's good. And we have another guest, but I don't see Rhonda on yet. So I think we're going to go ahead and kind of start the conversation. And I'd like to start because how I kind of advertise the show is that, you know, they would hear about my testimony as how this topic really spoke to me. As many know, in March and April, Pharaoh was diagnosed with COVID, and I was his caretaker. During the time of taking care of him, I was actually still working. So as Darshelle just mentioned, you know, we try to do everything, handle it all, and just keep moving. And that's just how we're built. But after what we say, I call it the storm, when he was better, I felt that I could just resume, get back to everything as usual. And unbeknownst to me, over time, I realized there was a space where I couldn't, you know, in some ways I felt paralyzed. Just even, I'm a very meticulous person when it comes to cleaning, organization, and all of that. Those of you guys that know me. And it was just like every corner I looked in, I felt there was clutter, you know, and I just felt like it was a bit overwhelming because I don't operate well with clutter. And the thing I couldn't realize why I just could not bring things together, even with focusing on, I'm used to managing more than one responsibility at a time, but this time I sit down to do responsibility and I just could not focus. My mind would be like, well, where did I do that? How did I do that? That's like so not me. But what I had to start to listen to, because around me, everybody was saying, you've been through some stuff. You know, wait a minute. Somebody just almost died in front of you, took care of them, so forth and so on. I'm like, what's that got? You know, that wasn't me. I just took care of them. Why should I be going through this? You know, that something's not right. Because I felt like I should be able to bounce back and move forward, because here we are, things are better. But then I realized that I know when other people I'm encountering, things are happening, that I'm able to consult to them and say, hey, you know, the same thing people were saying to me, but I expected them to receive that. But for some reason, I couldn't receive that as, okay, this is really happening and it's out of your control. And the same way I look at it is, I think that it's easier for us to extend grace to other people than ourselves. And because that's how I felt in the season, is that I wasn't giving myself, I didn't feel it was a legitimate reason enough for me not to have myself together. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I felt that, you know, I should be able to do what I need to do, keep it moving. And I just didn't think it was a legitimate enough reason for me to be in the space I was in. So that's why we really haven't had a show, because my focus has just been all over the place. And I realized that the whole premises of the show is to share real life, real conversations and real issues, because things are bigger than us. You know, we're here so we can do a service and be a blessing to other people based on our testimony. And our testimony is our experiences. And so I stand before you guys all to say that I'm not okay. But it's okay. I realize and I understand there's a basis for it. And I know that now I've tried to fix it. I've tried. And I now know that, guess what? I need some help. And so we're going to be sharing some resources and things that are out there. And like Victoria mentioned, the stigma that's in our community and stuff. the world we're in today, everybody needs some help. Nothing looks like it used to. And so even biblically, at the Bible, you got to have that source. You have to have that which goes to bring you back to who you are, to ground you, to redirect you, and to affirm your purpose, because you get so caught up on what you're not. It's so easy to just spiral in the wrong direction. So has anybody else experienced anything like this? Any of our guests, can you guys relate to any of this? I think Rhonda might be in the, yeah, let's, before we go into that, you guys hold that thought. And I want to go ahead and introduce Rhonda so she can be a part of the conversation. Rhonda, can you hear us okay? How are you?
Good. So I just pulled over because it's raining so hard. It's raining hard, so I just pulled over and parked.
No worries. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining us on Your Voice. I just want to give you guys a little bit about Rhonda. She is actually a successful grant writer, fundraiser, and corporate religious event planner. She publishes books for people of faith, and she actually has a show, a host for Keeping It Real with Reverend Rhonda. She's an ordained minister of gospel, and she serves as the associate pastor at her church. And she's a mother of 3 adult children, affectionately known as Granny Diva by her grandchildren, and happily married to her best friend, Monroe M. Yerby Jr. So we'd like to welcome you to the show, Rhonda. And we've kind of started the conversation. I just gave my testimony about where I was and how I've experienced this, to know that guess what? I need some help. I'm not okay, but it's okay that I'm not okay. But how do we move forward from that? So I just asked the panel, has anybody experienced anything like that in their life? So have you, Rhonda, have you experienced anything like that, or have you consulted or talked to anybody that was experiencing something like this?
Yes, I've experienced it myself and counseled several people. Even this year through COVID, even being in ministry, ministers still deal with depression, and ministers also have to have someone to help them. Because in order for us to help others, we have to have therapy ourselves. And like you were saying, it's a stigma in our community. In my husband's family, a lot of people are schizophrenic and bipolar. So several of them in his family go without treatment because they believe in being shamed about getting help. But it is okay not to be okay. I've had several traumas in my life where it was okay not to be okay. Getting therapy from being abused as a child, being sexually abused, and just going through that as an adult. And then when you try to share it with some people, a lot of people want to do victim shaming. And so I also had to overcome victim shaming, within my family, and ended up really getting help for my mother, my siblings, and everybody, because sometimes when we're in sick situations, it becomes everyday normal to us until someone else steps out and says, hey, we all need some help.
Wow. That's something.
And so I went through a lot because I moved forward. My first book I wrote was about being sexually abused as a child. And my whole family went without speaking to me for about 2 years until we all went into therapy together to deal with the real truth.
Wow, that's awesome.
Wow.
And that's interesting. We have 3 authors on here, probably one soon to be author, but I think we talk about sharing our stories. That's kind of what happens. And like for me, my writing was also help. You know, when you're writing things, it's therapeutic as well as you working through the process. You're seeing it. But the blessing about when you finish that book, it's a tool that can be passed on for somebody else to use that may be able to relate or with whatever you were experiencing. So, and this is a conversation. You guys feel free to talk. This is not. This is very informal because I want it to be a comfortable environment and very transparent. So, you know, feel free to share your experiences or any input at any time.
Well, one of the things that got me on my journey to healing was my friend Felicia Colston wanted me to tell my story to Farrell Phelps. And when he interviewed me, she and I both really realized how heavy this had been on me, dealing with shame, hiding and realizing the effects. So then Farrell started interviewing me. It was so deep, I felt like I was in a therapist. And it's a pretty long interview. And we actually went through everything and like what I needed to do to start loving myself and to start, taking care of Rhonda and not carrying that and continue to blame others, but take care of me so I could heal and move on.
Wow. That's something. So we have a whole nother therapist out there, Mr. Phelps. So Victoria,
I know, right?
Oh no, usually every year since then, this was like 2012 or 2013. Since then, during Sexual Abuse Month or Domestic Violence, he normally posts that interview.
Wow.
And that interview has been seen a little bit everywhere, and it has really helped a lot of people.
That's wonderful. That's awesome. That's awesome. Victoria, what were you gonna say? You had something you want to share?
Yeah, I think just kind of like just to draw like a connection through kind of what everybody's been saying. I think a lot of times the way that we understand the word trauma, it seems like something that like is easily to separate from our experiences because no one wants to feel like they're complaining. No one wants to feel like they're like being dramatic. And it's like trauma does not even have to happen directly to you for you to experience it. Like there is such thing as like secondhand trauma. Like someone can tell you about a story about something that happened to them, and you can be traumatized by it.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
in your situation, Mom, it's on you. Where
Yes.
you're talking about what you
This
went
is transparent. Yeah.
where you're talking about what you went through, like that's easily traumatic. Like you were literally directly affected by everything that happened to him. Like you guys experienced it together. Like you didn't have COVID, but you still like in order to be able, and we talked about this, in order to be able to wake up and at all hours of the day to be able to take care of him and to remember to do this and to remember to do that, and like you're operating on a level that I would say is probably like similar to like someone like having that adrenaline rush where they have to like lift the car off of their child.
Right.
And like you're in that state continuously.
Yes.
You know what I mean? For
And it's
over a
tense.
month. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's like no wonder your mind doesn't feel settled because like that's some people never will experience that. And it's like trauma can come from that, but it also doesn't have to be like that elaborate. Like I think like you said, it's like a lot of times we struggle to like give ourselves the same grace that we give others. Because like if someone comes to you, you're not going to say like, oh, what you went through is nothing. But when it comes to ourselves, we're like, oh, like suck it up, get over it. And the phrase like, oh, there's always someone worse than you. It's like understood, probably, but I think a lot of people use that to then negate their own feelings, and that's when I feel like it's problematic. But also, you had asked in terms of like having our own traumas. I was like sexually assaulted in my past. And so I think that was really the experience that forced me to really get into my own mental health and to like actually make sure that I was showing up for me, because like I went through like a long time of depression and just like not really feeling like myself, because I'm always used to being like very happy go lucky, and like everyone kind of expects that out of me because that's who I've always been. And I just really wasn't able to be that person. And for a while, I wondered if I'd ever be able to be that person again. And it's taken time, you know, but I think that's where like mental health comes in. And us like seeing more people like us having access to mental health and changing the narrative that we have to wait for something really bad to happen to us to be involved in mental health. Like, I think it should be way more like something that happens so much sooner than it's happening for a lot of us. And that's because of like access and like the cost of it and the stigma and all of those things that just add an extra layer or barrier to where we're not receiving help. So yeah, I would say that was my personal experience, and that's just why I just feel like I'm such a big advocate for anybody who feels like they might need help. Like, you don't need anybody to validate you. You don't need somebody to tell you, oh yeah, you qualify for needing to go receive mental health care. Like, it shouldn't be like that. Like, you don't need anybody to tell you that you need help. You know, and you have to just trust that feeling inside of you, like, I don't feel okay. And then also just being okay with like telling those around you, like, I can't be that person who need me, that you feel like you want me to be or you're used to seeing me be. Like, right now I just need to exist because that's the only way I'm making it through.
Wow. That's heavy. And Darshell, you were mentioning yesterday when we were talking about how even your son explained to you that sometimes just being able to say no, how empowering that was for him and how he was trying to, can you share that a little bit with us, with the conversation we had yesterday?
You're on mute, Darshell. There you go.
I said it's interesting because Victoria was talking about shared trauma. You know, you second or third hand trauma, which I never even thought about. But he had said to me, because I was really trying to cope with some really difficult situations, and so I would say to him, "What do you think about this?" And it's okay for you to tell someone that where I am in my head and my heart space, I'm unable to take on your pain.
Wow.
Particularly in a place where you're the personality that you take people's pain, but you don't know how to get rid of it. You absorb it. And then it becomes your pain and it becomes your trauma.
Right.
You know, people used to say to me, you should be a life coach. And I thought to myself, I am like completely tied up, man, coaching my own life. I can't imagine doing that for someone else. Like, I would completely flip out, like lose it. But him simply saying to me, Mom, it's okay for you to tell people not to dump their problems on you. It's okay if you say, no, I can't hear your trauma because I'm busy managing my own. That from a 19-year-old. So.
Yeah, honestly, that's
out of the mouth of a babe.
One more time, Darshell, because I want to write it down.
It is okay for you to tell people, no, I cannot take on your trauma because I am really busy managing my own.
Amen.
Wow.
That's my new motto. I love that.
Yeah, that's
That's
so real.
I love that.
I feel like that goes hand in hand with even kind of what you were saying earlier, Rhonda, about you being a preacher and you also needing help because of like how heavy that can be, you know, like taking on everyone's problems. It's even like that with therapists. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in my first year of my program. I'm about to finish it after this upcoming week. I'll be done. I'll be in my second year. But great, thank you. They literally require for us to see a therapist. You know what I mean? Like, before we can get our degree, we have to have so many sessions of therapy. And it's just to encourage us to like continue that throughout our lives, because it's like our profession is literally to take on everything that our client gives to us. You know what I mean? But it's just like figuring out a way to like do your best to not bring it home. But it's like people that are in this profession, like, we're here because we want to help people. So naturally we're empaths. So it's like there's only so much protecting you can do, you know? So it's like important to be taking care of like what you have going outside of the therapy room, like just as an individual in therapy, but then also just like having somewhere to be able to just like talk about like everything you're experiencing, you know, and of course confidentiality. So like you're not going talking about your clients, but
Right.
just still having a space to where you can keep your mental safe, because like it's hard, you know, but
It
I think
is.
the reason why I still ended up choosing this path is because I realized I was therapizing in a way people before I even got into this field. You know what I mean? So it's always been something that I was passionate about and drawn to. So it was like, instead of being scared of this, I've just chosen to trust that God's given me everything I need in order to be able to protect myself and to be able to help people in this way that I feel like it's just like a gift that I was given. So yeah, but it's definitely heavy. So I can hear that, and like sometimes you do have to tell people no. Like I've recently had to just like not become friends with some people that I normally feel like I would, just because I feel like they're kind of like reaching out for me. And it's hard because I normally I want to scoop people up, I want to save them, but I'm just like, I am working full time. I'm in school. I have my acoustic appetite page I'm trying to work on. I have so many things I'm trying to do. Like I don't have the time to like also outside of that be like your emotional like crutches. I just don't. And like that's hard for me because like I want to save everybody. But I totally feel that. Sometimes you have to tell people no, or just like not allow that connection to happen if you don't feel like you can handle it. So
Wow. And I want to ask Kay, because when I think about your book and your journey, what you went through, the healing side of it, can you speak to how that would pertain to, you know, the healing and sickness and all that, with giving yourself grace in that process? Can you kind of share that point of view for us?
Well, the part of my story that shares that is when I was praying about being healed. And for people who don't know, I had stage 4 cancer, and I was talking to God about healing. And before God talked to me about healing or ministered to me, gave me a scripture or anything, He addressed my a feeling that I had in my heart, and that feeling was unforgiveness and anger. So I was praying one day, and as I was walking out my closet, I heard God so clearly say, "You hate your husband." And so I just immediately began to cry. And I believe that those tears were tears of healing, all of the hurt and all of the pain over the years. And I just cried for some time, and I got up and I said, God, yeah, you know, you're right. I had never, ever told that to anybody. I never even told him. I didn't talk about it or anything. I held it all in. And one thing I like about what you ladies are saying is that you've talked about it. So I believe, well, I know that the feelings that I had, the unforgiveness and the pain, it was directly connected to allowing my body to be at dis-ease, which gave me a disease. So anytime your body's at dis-ease, it's susceptible to any kind of sickness. And so that's what happened to me. So to answer your question, Sonia, I think me addressing how I felt on the inside and being able to forgive, number one, and then also forgive myself, and then also correct how I felt, address my feelings. I think that was major in me being able to walk that whole, the process out, to walk it out with God, to walk it out with myself, to walk it out with my husband, because it still had to be walked out. It still had to be addressed. It still had to be, you had to live day by day. So those are feelings that I had to manage, and I had to just ask God to help me manage those feelings of how I felt. And some of it was a little bit, I'll be very honest, this is a transparent show. Some of the feelings were very selfish. So I had to get rid of a lot of that. And some of it was, I was really, truly in the right of how I felt. But the point that I want to say in all of this is getting it out, like what they've talked about, talking about it, expressing it. I never expressed it. I never talked about it. If I had an argument, I'd say a couple of words and it was over. That's just how I am. I'm a person of action. I don't want to talk about stuff for 2 and 3 days. So I think the key here of what they're saying, and I like that, is that they actually are talking about how they feel, and that's so important. You know.
Yeah. And it's, I think when we're talking about it, we're validating that,
Mhm.
hey, what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, it's important because
Right. That's absolutely
it's
right.
real.
Right.
Because like you just said, is that we're so busy. We take stuff in so easily, so
Mhm.
easy, but we guard so much in ourselves because of different reasons, whether we're embarrassed, whether we just want to appear to be stronger than we truly are.
Right. That's right.
We just push stuff down. We push stuff down instead of talking about it. Because when you talk about it, it's saying, hey, this is me and this is what's going on with me. And it makes you see yourself. It really makes you
Absolutely.
see yourself. And so I think for
Absolutely.
me, that's what it said is you can keep walking around and act like you're not seeing what you see in the mirror, but what you see is what you're seeing. So you have to say, okay, it's okay, I'm not okay. This is what I'm seeing, but now how do I move from this? And there is help. There's help out there. And in this time, you know, there's just so many things, so many uncertain. The world looks so different than it's ever looked for any generation. You know, especially in the United States of America. You know, we never thought that the things that we're encountering are happening. But one thing we want to do tonight is we are going to share some resources, but we do have some questions and some statements from our what we call our living room audience, and so I want to share some of those. And then shortly thereafter, we're also going to open up to some phone calls so they can be a part of the conversation. So I'm going to show some of those comments at the bottom of the screen here. Is it showing there? Let's see.
It was.
It went off.
It went away. I clicked it too many times. Okay, let's see.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, can somebody go ahead and read that?
Do you feel there's a self-imposed stigma on mental health in the Black community? Let's get that from Darshell. Darshell, what do you think?
I definitely think it is. You know, just like we didn't talk about, you know, uncles molesting, you know, nieces. We didn't talk about that. We had that crazy uncle. He's just crazy. We didn't talk about that. What happens in our family stays in our family. What happens? My mom used to say that what happens in our house stays in our house.
Yep.
And you didn't talk about having issues or problems. We are not allowed to be fallible as humans. We can't be non-perfect, even in our religious relationships. The church is for the broken. The word of God is for healing for the broken. But when you get in church, you got to be perfect. You're not allowed to be broken. You're not allowed to show that something's wrong. So there is stigma in every aspect of our lives. And we're just recently beginning to peel back the layers and say, okay, we got issues. We got some problems. You know, we would say, oh, you know, we don't do that. Black people don't do that. Black people do cut themselves. They are cutting. Yes, they are. Black people commit suicide. Yes, they are. Yes, we do. Black people have nervous breakdowns. Yes, we do. We do. We may not talk about it, but we are having them and doing these things on a regular basis. And we could find healing. The sick need a physician. We could find healing if we went to the place where healing exists.
Wow.
Wow. Good.
Does anybody else want to talk to that before we go on to the next question about our community and the stigma?
I feel like we could go on and on, but I feel like she just said so many important and very true things. It's just like everybody has the capability, and everybody, I believe, we all do have mental health issues. You know what I mean? Even if they're not like that extreme, you know what I mean? Everybody could benefit from having mental health help. So it's just like getting people to see that you don't have to feel like you just lost somebody. Like it doesn't have to be something like extreme, you know? It could really just be like you're really stressed out about school, you're really stressed out about work, a relationship just didn't work. you don't know what you want to do with your life. Like there's so many things and factors that can cause like strain in your life, and like that's when mental health comes in, because it literally gives you someone who's a sounding board. You know what I mean? And it's like, I believe in prayer and I pray, but I also believe that like God provided people who could be therapists so that they could do their job and help people. So I think there's space for each one, and I don't think you have to invalidate one with the other. You know, like I think they can both coexist, and when they do, I think it's beautiful. So I think, yeah, like changing the narrative to where it's like you just have to like pray everything away, you know, or if like you have an issue, like you're not okay, and like, oh, like she was saying, like you're crazy, and like we just don't want to tell our friends that we're sad or that we're unhappy, you know, or we just want to like hide that by saying like, oh, I'm just like I don't know, like just trying to make it sound like we don't have to go, like we don't go through things, like putting up a shield. And like, even the stigma that like Black women have to be strong, like what does that mean? Like, can we dissect that? We don't have to, but you know what I mean? Like Black women, we do not have to be strong. We're human beings. That's all we have to be, you know, just like everybody else. So just, I think like stopping glorifying the narrative of like the strong, hardened Black woman who's been through so much. Like we've been through a lot, and we're going to continue to grow and like heal and all of that, but we shouldn't have to feel like we have to take on all of these things in order to be Black women. And I think a lot, I can speak to men as well, and just all genders, you know, transgender, every gender, like we could go on for days and days. Like everyone has their issues. So
we have another question from the gallery there. You guys see it better than I can?
Well, it's a statement.
Okay.
It's also about having boundaries, what we're willing to do and not willing to do. That's from Giselle Johnson. Boundaries.
And I think that goes back to kind of the statement almost that Darshell was talking about. It's just really understanding that you have to set parameters for yourself on what capacity that you have for yourself, if you have any extra room for anything else, and it's okay if you don't, or boundaries to where how far you'll go with. I mean, I think that can go to different things, but boundaries to me in this case would be to protect yourself with those boundaries, protect your mental health by creating boundaries.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is go ahead and open the lineup. We're going to show the phone number on here, and you guys can call in and have some questions for us. You can ask us to be a part of the conversation. The phone number is 281-241-9313. Again, the phone number is 281-241-9313. So if you like to comment or you have a question, you want to be a part of the conversation, go ahead and give us a call. Meanwhile, I do want to go ahead and put up one of the resources for counseling that are available. One is www.therapyforblackgirls.com, and one is www.soundermind.com. And is that all I have there? Yeah. And Victoria, there's another one you mentioned that you thought was very helpful and had some other benefits. What was that?
So there's also BetterHelp, and that's like a new one that I've been seeing a lot. I haven't used it personally, but they are supposed to be like an attempt at like making mental health care more accessible. And then also with just different therapists, I found myself, like once I found my therapist, I found out she was also on OpenPath, which is a resource where basically if your therapist uses that, you can get discounts on your therapy. So like, and it can be significant. So yeah, I should definitely check all of those things out. But then also like you could just search it on Google. But yeah, I would say those are a few good ones.
So at the end of this broadcast, Victoria, can you share that information in our comments so then the people go back to see the show later, they can see that information? Anything extra that you'd like to add? Resources,
So
as well as these will be in there.
So is it on this interface, or do I need to go on my phone and go on Facebook?
So like once it's over, you can go into the comments.
That's what you.
Yeah. You just need information in the comments.
Okay.
Let's see. Again, I'm gonna go ahead and put the phone number up for calls, and then we're gonna go back to see if we have any physical questions. Again, the phone number is 281-241-9313. And
I don't see any questions. I see another comment.
Okay.
You want to post it?
Yes. Here we go.
Kathy Tatum.
Oh.
That's Farrell's again.
Hold on.
I'll never hide my mental health.
Oh, here we go. Wait a minute.
Well, she said that one, but another one.
Okay, the one about I will never.
Yeah, I will never hide my mental health struggles, for speaking up saves my life and not taking advantage of from friends. So she's basically saying, like, I really love the fact that, people are talking about it now. If I would have probably talked about how I felt, I probably would have, just been at a different state. You never know. Just never know. Now, I have a question. So do you guys think that that you can ever be healed and just totally free from how you feel, or from the mental state of mind, or the anxiety that you have? Is there a way to say, okay, I feel good now, I'm good?
I believe that you can, and then there are triggers, and that has happened to me, where someone has brought up something that happened 25 or 30 years ago. I was raped by another minister, and another minister woman was with me and some other ladies from church, and she just brought it up. Hey, why don't you tell them about that guy who hooked you upside your head and broke in your house?
Oh my God.
And this was in January, and I was taken back. It almost got me, but I prayed and I said, Lord, you bought me out of that. Why is she trying to shame me? So I did approach her and told her I felt it was really appropriate. It's something that I've worked through. I'm over it. It was, and she said it like it was funny. And so sometimes you will be tested. And and that's when you lean on God and everything, because I really felt like I've healed from that situation. It just shocked me how it was brought up in front of other strangers who knew nothing about it.
Wow.
But I was shocked, and I think I was just saddened for her, and why would she do that?
Yeah.
But I got over it and I moved forward. But that happened this January, and not much ever really shocked
me. Yeah, that's a lot to
my take on that is that I think you can be healed, but I think there's so many things that we encounter in our life that, and I hate to say there's always going to be something, but what I mean by that is I think we have to be cognizant that there could be other things and honest with how they affect us and not bury them.
Right.
And not say, oh, this is happening too much. I'm having, because it could be where I'm at right now. And I think that's what I was doing. I was like, this is just, how can I be so out of it? And so I think we really don't know the answer. I wouldn't say we really know the answer to that, because every day you wake up, you don't know what you're going to encounter. But with our faith, we know, for me, I have to always go back to that. But even with, I know that, okay, I need some coping tools. I'm praying, I'm seeking God, but I do believe that it was God that gave man the gift to help give the direction or the tools or the input, which, like we say, the people on here that have a book, our books have become tools for different things like what we went through. They nurtured us through them and they helped us, and now they're tools for other people. So I think that I don't know if there's an answer to. I think you can be healed for something, but like Rhonda said, something else could trigger it to where you think you're healed. That takes you right back there. So mental is so sensitive. I think our minds they're strong and they're in so many ways, but I think they're so sensitive in others.
Right.
Yeah, and I feel like for me to answer that question too, also just I'm sorry you had to go through that, Rhonda. Like that just sounds like a lot, and I just hate that someone would even say that. Like you said, to seemingly provoke you. But I'm happy we're still here today. But I think to answer that question for me personally, like I plan to be in therapy for the rest of my life, because
Me too.
I just think like you can heal from maybe you can heal from one thing and maybe you don't have to revisit that ever. But a new relationship, having a child, getting in a car accident, losing a job, like there are so many things, and even sometimes positive things can be things that you need to talk through. You know what I mean? Like getting in a relationship and it feels so good, and you're like, I feel like I'm losing my mind because it's so good. Like I there doesn't always have to be a bad thing that you're talking to your therapist about. Like I feel like there's so many times I go into therapy and I'm just like, I just need to talk to you about this because like that's your person. Like they are literally a human being who's gonna sit there if they're doing their job correctly. They're gonna sit there and they're gonna not tell you what to do. They're going to walk you through processing everything on your own.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't think that there's a reason why, if you can be, which that's a problem as well, like it's access to mental health care. But if you can be, I don't see why you wouldn't just continuously want to be in mental, like in therapy, even if it's like you, like say you have something bad happen and like you need it like every week. And then eventually you're like, maybe I'll go once a month, maybe every 3 months. But I feel like just that check-in could probably make it to where when something really drastic does happen, maybe your fall off isn't as extreme as it would be if you're just sitting here just waiting. You're like, all right, I got patched up. We put a band-aid over it. Now it healed on its own too. I can't see it anymore. It's just a scar. And you're just waiting for the next thing to come along. And now you have another open wound. And now you're like, okay, like now I need to go seek help. When if in that interim period, you had consistently been like giving to your mental health, like who knows where you would be. And who knows how better equipped you could potentially be for when that next thing comes. And there's no guarantee. I'm not going to be like, oh, if you're in therapy, then like nothing will shake you, because that's not true. But at least you have like a place to talk about it and to just genuinely go through it where you don't have to feel judged. And you can literally just like spill out everything, because I know I do. And I'm so thankful for having that space. So
Me too. And I did call my therapist that day because we were at lunch as soon as I got in the car, because I knew that was going to be a trigger for me and I needed to work through it.
yeah.
Now, like my denomination requires ministers to be in therapy. They, they have that psychiatric evaluation before they're ordained,
That's
Wow.
Yeah.
which is a must because there
That should be
are a
across
lot of
That should be
But
across
it's
the
not.
board. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's not.
I agree.
But it's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. And that's so real how even like you're saying like coping tools. Like I can't even explain like how like learning coping tools for one situation has been something that I can apply in other scenarios. Like something that might help me in my relation, like in a relationship with a significant other, might also help me in my schooling. You know what I mean? It's just like it changes the way that you think about things and also just forces you to dive deeper into like the way your mind works. And like why do I do these things on like a deeper level? Instead of just it keeping surface like, oh, I do this because I'm upset. Like, why are you upset? And like where does that stem from? Is it your current environment or is it something that maybe happened to you like a long time ago? So yeah, I think the coping tools are A1, honestly.
Well, I kind of feel like this show is one that could be one of many parts, because I think that the more we talk about this as people of color, the importance of it being okay not to be okay and okay to get some help. So I think this is going to be one of many conversations we have, and I'm so grateful that you guys took the time to be a part of this conversation today and just be transparent and real about your own experiences and your thoughts as it pertains to this topic. And I just really, that's not easy. First of all, to do it for yourself, to admit things, but as well to share it with the world and people that are watching. So we really appreciate that. And we thank the people that have tuned in for the show today. And I said, I know we're going to have to revisit this. But before we sign off, we've got something that I want to talk about. Is I want to give kudos to Kay she actually for the last 2 years she's had a Facebook Live called Kay's Conversation Ministry, right? Basically,
Yeah. Conversation with Kay, yeah.
Conversations with Kay. And it's done so well. It's doing so well that, and you know what? I'm sure it's a calling, that it's something that's going to need more of her time. So we'd like you to please make sure you tune in. Can you give us the time and stuff for your show, Kay, for that?
It's Monday evenings at 7:30 every first and third Monday evening.
Okay.
Now,
so Kay, you promise you're still going to come and visit us from time to time?
Absolutely.
All right.
This is my sister's show.
Amen. And I'm so grateful. Just doing a show, period. I couldn't have done it, couldn't have started it without you, And so you have a place here anytime you want to come on here, and we will make sure we'll be following you as well, too. So I'm truly grateful. And we thank you guys so much for being a part of Your Voice Talk Show. I do want to go ahead and put those resources up again. And one by one, can you guys tell us, Victoria? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just want to take the opportunity.
Go ahead, Victoria.
I just want to take the opportunity really fast just to say, because this is about mental health. Like, if you are listening to this and you feel right now like you need help, you don't have to wait for somebody else to tell you. You don't have to wait for somebody else to validate you. Go seek out help. There are resources. Please take care of yourself, because it's so important. And you only get one mind, one body. So that's all I want to say.
Okay. And so, Darsha, what will be your words that you'd like to leave?
I'd like to leave you with this. Every year I go see the doctor for a checkup, just to make sure we're all good. And I get a full workup, I get labs and everything. I want you to do that for your mental health. Maybe you're fine, but you still need a checkup. You're always trying to fix your body and your outer appearance. Take care of your mind.
Awesome. And Miss Rhonda, would you like to leave us? What would you like to leave us with on the topic?
I agree with what both ladies have said, but put yourself first, love yourself, and loving you means loving your mental health.
Right. That's good.
And so Kay, what would you like to add for closing on this topic?
I would like to say what I just said a minute ago is talk about it. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Find somebody to talk about it, even if it's not as comfortable. Find somebody that you can confide in, even if it's not if it needs to be a therapist, get a therapist. If it's not, find somebody that you're going to be comfortable confiding in, but talk about it.
Awesome. So we thank everybody for being a part of the show today. It's helped me, and I'm excited because I feel like, this is one of many. I'm moving forward. I'm back on the horse. So thanks to all you ladies. I really appreciate that, because I needed this. I mean, honestly, it's interesting how you think I did this. Why can't I do it? But thank you guys so much. It means so much. So you guys have a wonderful evening, afternoon. I love you guys all very much. And thank you guys. Look forward to you guys on another Your Voice Talk Show.
Yay. Good night.
Take care, everybody.